Captain Mara Thorne tightened her grip on the controls as the battered freighter shuddered under the onslaught of the solar storm. Outside the viewport, streaks of electric blue and fiery red danced across the sky, each flash threatening to overwhelm the ship's ancient shields. Mara's jaw set in determination. She had flown through worse, but this storm was unlike any she had ever seen. An unpredictable rage of charged particles that could tear metal from metal in an instant. Below deck, the engines roared. Dex, the ship's engineer, fought to keep the power core stable. Sparks flew from a control panel as he rerouted energy through emergency conduits. Sweat beaded on his forehead, but he refused to slow. "We're not going down today," he muttered, voice thick with grit. Mara could almost hear his heart pounding through the bulkhead. High above, the storm smashed into the mining colony of Arctis Base, its steel domes glowing under the electromagnetic siege. The colony's lights flickered, then died, leaving only the swirling maelstrom of charged dust and plasma. Mara steered the freighter down through the rogue currents, searching for anything salvageable among the wrecks scattered across the desert plain. Her scanner beeped furiously, marking debris fields and broken hulls half buried in red sand. One reading stood out. A transport vessel, far larger than typical freighters in this sector. Its signal was faint but unmistakable. That should be worth a fortune, Mara thought, heart quickening. She nudged the freighter lower, careful to steer between lightning forks that danced like angry serpents across the horizon. As she descended, the ship's hull groaned under the stress. An ear-splitting crack echoed through the cabin. Alarms blared. Mara flicked switches, rerouting power to reinforce the outer plating. The storm pressed on, relentless. Still, she guided the freighter toward the wreck, her eyes sharp in the dim red glow that filtered through the storm clouds. When the freighter touched down, it did so with a soft thud that felt like a victory. Outside, the storm's fury lessened only by a fraction. Mara donned her reinforced suit and activated her helmet cam. The world beyond her visor was chaos, twisting winds, flying rocks, and the distant outlines of broken craft half buried in dunes. Mara trudged through the storm, her boots sinking into soft sand. She approached the transport's hatch and pried it open with a hydraulic tool. The door crashed to the ground, sending a cloud of dust into the electric air. Inside, the corridor lights flickered weakly, revealing smashed consoles and torn cables. The ship had been hit hard, abandoned in the blink of an eye. In the main hold, crates and cargo containers lay scattered. Mara scanned for life signs. None. A nod from Dex in her ear confirmed the freighter's scanners showed no survivors, except one faint pulse. Intrigued, she followed the beep through a tangle of fallen beams and broken crates. There, huddled against the far wall, was the most unexpected sight. A small figure, wrapped in what looked like a thin thermal blanket. The creature lay on the ground, breathing shallowly. Mara's pulse jumped. She knelt beside it, her suit's external lights casting a soft glow on a face that seemed impossibly young.
Skin pale with a faint blue sheen, hair like fine silver threads, and eyes closed as if in a deep sleep. "Dex, I found something alive," she said into her comm. He joined her moments later, scanning the child with his handheld device.
His eyebrows rose. "This reading. It's not human," he said quietly. "Her energy signature is different, almost star-like." Mara carefully lifted the blanket. The girl's chest rose and fell in time with a faint but steady rhythm. She stirred, eyelids fluttering. As her eyes opened, they revealed a color. That took Mara's breath away. Deep violet flecked with tiny points of light like galaxies trapped in liquid. The girl blinked up at Mara, confusion mingled with fear. The storm outside roared again, and Mara felt a protective urge surge through her. Protocol demanded she report the salvage find and leave the scene. But something held her back. In that instant, she made a choice. With cautious hands, she scooped the girl into her arms and carried her back to the freighter. Inside the safety of the cargo bay, Mara wrapped the girl in a spare blanket. Dex monitored her vitals. "Her heartbeat is rapid but stable," he reported. Mara settled on the floor beside the girl's makeshift cot. "You're safe now," she whispered. "I won't let anything happen to you." The girl's violet eyes met Mara's, and for a moment, the storm outside seemed miles away. Then, as if drawn by some hidden power, she reached a trembling hand toward the bulkhead. The lights flickered and Mara felt a hum of energy pulse around them. Dex stared in disbelief. "Did you feel that?" Mara nodded slowly. The storm might rage across Arctis base, but here, in this small freighter hold, a different force had awakened. The girl who should have been just another salvage find was something more, something extraordinary. And Captain Mara Thorne, who had faced down cosmic tempests and pirate raiders, felt the stirrings of a new adventure that would test everything she thought she knew about the stars and her place among them. Captain Mara Thorne kept vigil in the freighter's small infirmary as the storm raged on above Arctis base. The hum of emergency lights and the soft hiss of recycled air filled the cramped space. Beside her, the alien girl, whom the crew had nicknamed Solana, lay wrapped in blankets, eyes closed. Despite the chaos outside, a calm aura seemed to cling to her, as if she brought her own quiet with her. Mara studied the girl's delicate features, the pale blue sheen of her skin, the silver threads of her hair, and the faint pulse of light that flickered at her fingertips. Below decks in the engine room, Dex leaned close to the freighter's power core, calibrating his scanners. To Solana's unique energy signature, he frowned at the data streaming across his console. "Captain," he said over the comm, voice low and urgent, "I'm seeing something strange." On his display, Solana's energy field coalesced into soft, glowing patterns that echoed the star map etched into her memory. The freighter's systems resonated in harmony with those patterns. Every time Solana's chest rose, the lights in the engine room brightened for a heartbeat. Every time she exhaled, the hum of the core deepened. Mara entered the engine room to watch the readings herself. Could her energy be influencing the ship? She asked. Dex nodded. Not just the ship. The readings spike when she touches any metal surface. He gestured to the nearby maintenance panel, its circuits pulsing in time with Solana's heartbeat. She's like a living generator. Mara felt a thrill of wonder. If Solana truly held power over machines, she might be more than a refugee. She might be a key to ancient technologies lost to time. As night fell across the mining colony, the freighter's exterior cameras picked up silent shapes slipping through the storm clouds. 3 cloaked vessels drifted in the upper atmosphere, their hulls black as obsidian. They made no attempt to land. Instead, they scanned the planet below with piercing beams of light. Mara frowned at the view screen. "They're looking for something," she said. "Something important." Dex tapped the screen. "Their sensors are tuned to Solana's energy signature." Mara's heart pounded. Whoever chased Solana would not stop until they found her, and they had more firepower than a salvage crew could hope to match. Back in the infirmary, Solana stirred. Her violet eyes opened slowly, taking in the sterile room with quiet awe. She reached out toward Mara, fingers brushing a metal support beam. Instantly, the lights flickered and the air seemed to hum. Mara caught the girl's hand. "Easy," she murmured. Solana's eyes shone with confusion and fear. She brought her free hand to her temple, as if trying to summon her own thoughts. Then she drew a shaky breath and spoke her first words in a language that shimmered like starlight. "Home. Lost." Mara's pulse jumped. "You can talk," she said gently. Solana nodded, tears welling in her eyes. Her voice was soft, musical. "They came in the night," she said. "I ran." Mara knelt beside her cot and offered water. Solana sipped carefully, every movement tinged with caution. "They will not stop," Solana whispered. "Find the map." Mara remembered the hidden star map triggered by Solana's touch. "We will," she promised. "But first we keep you safe." In the freighter's cramped mess hall, the crew gathered around a holographic projector. Mara activated it, and the star map glowed in midair. lines of light connecting distant worlds, circling a nebula, rich in color. Dex pointed to a symbol etched at the map's heart, a crown-shaped glyph surrounded by 7 rings. "This might mark Solana's home," he said. The crew exchanged excited looks. For months they had chased scraps of legend about a vanished star empire. Now the legend lay before them in living color. The map pulsed again, reacting to Solana's presence even from across the room. Mara took a deep breath. "Tomorrow, we follow this map," she declared. "We get Solana back to her home and we find out who wants to hunt her down." The crew cheered, raising cups of recycled water in a silent toast. Solana watched them, her violet eyes reflecting both hope and fear. As the freighter's engines powered up to break orbit, Mara placed a firm hand on Solana's shoulder. "We're in this together," she said. Solana nodded, a small smile breaking through her anxious expression. Above them, the storm's final lightning bolt tore through the sky, then faded into a calm night. In that stillness, a new journey began, carrying them toward secrets older than any human star chart. Captain Mara Thorne guide led the freighter through the quiet expanse of space, following the star map that Solana had unlocked. The crew worked in hushed tones at their stations. Dex checked the engine's energy flow, while Navali, the navigator, plotted a course to a set of coordinates deep in the Epsilon Nebula. Solana sat on the deck, her violet eyes fixed on the glowing map projected in midair. Outside the viewport, distant stars flickered like fireflies. As the ship dropped out of hyperspace, a ruined orbital station loomed before them, half hidden by drifting gas clouds. Mara felt a chill. They had found their first clue. They suited up and moved to the airlock. The station's hull was scarred by micrometeor impacts and years of neglect. Inside, dim lights cast long shadows along the metal corridors. Dust motes floated in the beam of their helmet lamps. Broken panels hung from the walls and silent machinery lay frozen in time. Dex tapped a console and watched ancient schematics appear. The maps matched the ones on Solana's star map. They had come to recover lost archives and to learn Solana's true past. In the station's central hub, a massive door barred their way. Strange glyphs were carved into its surface, and it glowed faintly when Solana approached. Mara motioned for the girl to step forward. Solana placed her hand on the glyphs, and a warm light spread across the door. The seals clicked and dissolved into energy. With a grinding roar, the door slid open, revealing a circular chamber lined with crystalline panels. Every surface pulsed with ancient power. Inside, a circular dais stood in the center, built to hold a single user. Around it, transparent screens flickered to life, projecting star charts and data logs in midair. The crew gathered close as Solana climbed onto the dais. The screens reacted to her energy, bathing the room in soft light. Then, in a gentle voice, a holographic figure emerged, an elegant woman dressed in flowing robes of light. Her voice echoed like music as she spoke in a forgotten tongue. Dex hurried to his console and began translating the speech. The crew listened in silence as the woman described a star empire ruled by a line of starborn monarchs. She spoke of crystal, cities that floated among nebulae, of gardens that orbited suns, and of a time when humans and starborn lived in peace. But her tone darkened as she told of betrayal. A jealous cousin had seized the throne, scattering the royal heirs across the galaxy. Solana's name was spoken last, marked as Heir of the 7 Rings. Solana's shoulders trembled. Tears welled in her violet eyes. She whispered, "I am lost." Mara knelt beside her and took her hand. "You are safe with us," Mara said gently. The girl looked up, hope and sorrow mingling in her gaze. Around them, the hologram flickered and revealed more. The location of a hidden vault called the Heart of the Stars. It contained an ancient power source that could restore the Empire, or destroy it if it fell into the wrong hands. Dex studied, the instructions etched beside the vault coordinates. "If we can reach this vault, we can help Solana claim her birthright," he said. Mara nodded. She knew the usurper's followers would search for the same treasure. "We must move quickly," she said. "Navali, chart us a course. Dex, gather what we need. Solana, rest. We leave in 10 minutes. Just then, the ship's long-range sensors blared. 3 black shapes slipped into the system at high speed. Their profiles matched the raider vessels that had chased them before. "They found us," Navali said, voice tight. "They'll be here soon." Mara's jaw set. "We have no time to lose. Stay focused. Get back to the freighter." As they hurried through the station's corridors, Dex heard a soft alarm behind them. He glanced back. Security protocols were reactivating. "Hold on," he shouted, racing to override the shutdown sequence. Sparks flew from a panel as he worked. The siren grew louder. Outside, the station's docking clamps began to seal. Dex slammed the final code. The alarm died, and the clamps clicked open. They burst into the docking bay just as Mara released the clamps. Solana's eyes glowed brightly as the freighter drifted free. The station's ancient systems powered down again, its lights dimming to silence. Mara guided the ship out of the docking port and fired up the engines. The freighter rose into space, engines flaring against the nebula's haze. On the bridge, Solana pressed her hand to the viewport, tracing the path toward her hidden vault. "I remember," she whispered, voice steady. The star map shifted under her touch, revealing a new route through unstable space lanes. Mara smiled and squeezed her shoulder. "We follow you," she said. "To the vault, and then home." Outside, the nebula's colors swirled in the distance, a promise of secrets still waiting to be discovered. Captain Marathorn stood on the bridge as the freighter shuddered under the impact of enemy fire. Outside the tall viewport, 3 black raider frigates closed in, their twin cannons streaking green beams across the dark void. The crew hustled at their stations. Navali called out targeting coordinates, Dex monitored the engines, and Solana hovered nearby, eyes glowing faintly with tension. Mara gripped the command rail. "All hands battle stations," she ordered. "Defensive formation Delta. We'll use the station's debris field for cover." With a hum, the freighter's maneuvering thrusters kicked in. The ship twisted and darted among drifting plates of ancient metal from the derelict station. The raiders fired again, shells striking scrap with thunderous clangs. Sparks showered the freighter's aft hull, but the debris absorbed most of the blows. In the engine room, Dex worked furiously to stabilize the power core. The stray energy from Solana had altered the core's resonance, making it more efficient yet harder to control. He opened the maintenance hatch and adjusted the conduits. "We have extra power on Channel 3, he reported to Mara via comm. "If we channel it to the deflector shields, we can hold them off longer." "Do it," Mara replied. Dex flipped switches. The freighter's shield matrix brightened, rippling with violet arcs that matched Solana's aura. In the infirmary, Solana pressed a small hand to the bulkhead. She closed her eyes, concentrating. A gentle pulse rolled through the ship, and every panel along the corridor flickered in time with her heartbeat. Dex watched the energy graph spike. "She's doing something," he murmured. "Her energy is synchronizing with the shields." On the bridge, warning klaxons shrieked as one of the raider frigates broke through their cover. Its forward cannon charged. "Evasive now!" Mara shouted. The freighter banked hard, flaring its thrusters. The raider fired, and a green beam slammed into the shields. A ripple of violet light spread across the hull, then faded, leaving only a dent in the outer plating. Navali punched in new coordinates. "Maneuvering around that debris tower," she said. "Give me 30 degrees port." The freighter spun, and the raiders followed. They emerged behind a giant ring of wreckage, a collapsed habitat module. Mara seized the moment. "Fire back," she commanded. The freighter's forward cannons roared, sending pulse lasers streaking toward the nearest frigate. The shots found their mark, lighting up the enemy's aft hull. A firefight erupted among the junk. Inside the mess hall, the rest of the crew watched the tactical display. Solana stood at the front, transfixed. Each time the freighter's shields held, her violet eyes blazed brighter. Mara noticed this and realized the girl's power was more than passive. She could amplify the ship's defenses. and perhaps attack as well. Back on the bridge, Mara took a deep breath. Solana, can you channel more energy to our weapons? The girl's head snapped up, surprise in her gaze. She shook her head uncertain. I'm scared, she whispered. Mara softened her tone. I know, but you're with us. You can protect us. Solana closed her eyes. A soft glow spread from her fingertips to her entire body. The ship's weapons consoles lit with violet arcs as if alive. Weapons online, Navali reported. Ready when you are. Mara aimed at the lead frigate. Fire on my mark. She paused, then shouted, Now! The freighter's pulse lasers erupted again, brighter and stronger. 2 shots struck the enemy's engines. The frigate spun out of control, drifting toward the debris tower. A moment later, the wreckage tore it apart in a shower of metal. The other 2 frigates turned to flee, but Solana reached out with her energy. A shimmering wave pulsed from the freighter, rippling through space like heat on a summer road. The raiders' shields flared, then collapsed. Their weapons locked up, beams flickering out. Both ships tumbled helplessly. Mara seized the opportunity. Full speed. Pursue and disable them. The freighter lunged forward. The crew cheered as they overtook the crippled vessels. Decks fired targeted ion bolts at their weapon arrays. Sparks flew across the enemy hulls and electronic systems died. When the raiders finally ceased firing, silence filled the freighter's bridge. Outside, the 2 enemy ships loomed, powerless. Mara exhaled. Good work, everyone, she said. The crew relaxed into smiles and triumphant laughter. Navali deactivated the targeting display. Solana opened her eyes, exhaustion and relief mingling in her expression. Mara stepped over to the girl. You did it, she said softly. Solana managed a small nod. Her violet glow faded back to normal. Thank you, Mara added. You saved us. Solana looked down at her hands, trembling. I did not know I had so much power, she said. I was afraid it would hurt you. Mara placed a hand on her shoulder. You learn as you go, and we'll be here with you. On the bridge, Dex studied the freighter's shields, readings. With Solana's help, we can sustain shield strength at 50% longer, he said. That gives us a real edge. Mara smiled. Then let's use it wisely. She looked out at the drifting raider ships. Send a message to the local authorities. Let them pick up the wrecks. She turned back to Solana. And rest now. Tomorrow we continue to the heart of the stars. Solana nodded and followed Dex off the bridge. Mara remained, watching the stars through the viewport. The nebula's glow painted the freighter's hull in soft colors. In her heart, she knew. The battle was won, but the war was only beginning. With Solana's power, they held hope for a new empire, or a new threat. Either way, Captain Mara Thorne would face it head-on, guided by a child whose destiny reached farther than any human star chart. Captain Mara Thorne guided the freighter into orbit around the lush world of Sealy's Prime. Below them, forests of towering crystals glowed with bioluminescent vines that coiled among the spires like living rivers of light. The star map had led them here, to the heart of the ancient empire. Navali piloted the ship through gentle gravity, lowering them onto a flat plain lined with fallen columns half buried in moss. They disembarked into the cool, fragrant air. Solana walked beside Mara, her violet eyes reflecting the green glow of the crystals. Every step she took made the vines pulse softly, as if greeting her return. Dex carried the portable scanners, and Navali held the map projector. The crew moved. In formation, weapons holstered but ready. Ahead lay the ruins of a grand gateway. 2 monolithic statues of winged figures stood guard at each side. Their faces were worn by time, but their expressions still held pride. Glyphs ran along the arch above them, shimmering in the dim light. Solana stepped forward and placed her hand on the glyphs. They flared with a pale blue glow. Mara and Dex kept watch as the earth shook gently. With a low rumble, the gateway's central stone slid aside to reveal a long corridor. The air inside smelled of fresh rain and wet stone. Faint lights along the walls pulsed in rhythm with Solana's heartbeat. Dex checked his scanner. "This corridor is alive with energy," he said. "It's reacting to Solana." They entered the passage. The floor tiles were inlaid with tiny crystal shards that reflected their helmets' lights. The walls were carved with scenes of crystal cities floating in nebulae. Solana paused, tracing one carving with her finger. It showed a child enthroned, among 7 rings of light. She whispered, "This is me." The corridor ended in a vast chamber. At its center stood a circular platform of polished stone. On it lay a crystalline chest, its facets glowing softly. Around the chest were 7 columns of light, each arching toward the sky like a flower in bloom. The air hummed with power. Mara approached the chest and saw that its surface bore the crown glyph surrounded by the 7 rings, the same symbol from the star map. She turned to Solana. "This must be the heart of the star's vault." The girl nodded, her breath catching. Dex checked for traps. "No mechanical locks," he said, "but the energy field is strong." Solana stepped onto the platform, her eyes closed as she reached out. Mara and Dex held their breath. When Solana's fingers touched the chest, the 7 columns of light pulsed and merged into a single beam that surrounded her. The beam expanded to cover the entire chamber, and the stone walls glowed with ancient runes. A deep hum filled the air. Solana opened her eyes and gasped. Within the crystal chest lay a small orb of pure light, swirling with colors like a living star. It floated above its resting place. Mara felt a thrill. "The heart of the stars," she whispered. "It's real." Solana took a step closer. The orb drifted toward her as if drawn by an unseen force. She lifted her hands and let the light settle between her palms. The glow bathed her face and a soft warmth spread through her chest. In that moment, Solana's memory returned in fragments. A palace of crystal towers, people kneeling before her in respect, laughter and music echoing in the halls. Then came darkness. A great explosion. Screams. The sky filled with fire. She remembered running through corridors as walls collapsed and then nothing. Solana's eyes flew open, tears running down her cheeks. She closed her hands around the orb. "I remember," she said, voice trembling. "My people. My home." The orb's light flickered in sympathy. It seemed to pulse with her heartbeat. Mara placed a hand on Solana's shoulder. "You can bring them back," she said softly, "or at least honor them." Solana looked at the orb, then up at Mara. "This power can heal the Empire," she said, "or destroy it if I make a mistake." Dex scanned the chamber again. "We need to secure the vault," he said. "If the usurpers' forces find this place, they'll grab the orb and use it to conquer again." Mara nodded. "We take the orb to the freighter, then we hide it and plan our next move." Solana hesitated, staring at the rows of glowing vines through the open roof. She drew a deep breath and nodded. "I'm ready," she said. Carefully, she lifted the orb from its resting place. The columns of light faded and the runes dimmed until the chamber was lit only by the vines above. They retraced their steps down the corridor. The vines pulsed gently as the orb's glow faded to match Solana's calm aura. Outside the gateway, the statue's eyes flickered once, then returned to stillness. The crew exchanged hopeful looks. On the freighter, Dex stowed the orb in a secure containment field. Navali plotted their next destination, a hidden safe haven in a distant system. Mara and Solana stood together at the airlock. The world of Seelis Prime lay silent behind them, waiting for the return of its true heir. Solana looked back at the crystal forest. "One day," she said, "this world will shine again." Mara smiled. "And we'll be there to help you." The airlock hissed shut. The freighter's engines flared. As they lifted off, the last view of Seelis Prime was a dim glow among the stars. Inside, the orb pulsed softly. A new chapter of their journey had just begun. Captain Mara Thorne set the freighter on a steady course toward the hidden safe haven in the Vega expanse. Through the main viewport, the crew watched distant stars drift past like silent candles in a vast cathedral. Solana stood at Mara's side, the heart of the star's orb cradled gently in her hands. Its soft glow pulsed in time with her heartbeat, filling the bridge with warm light. Below decks and Navali worked to bolster the freighter's defenses. "We'll need every joule of power for what's coming," Dex said, rerouting auxiliary energy to the shield emitters. Navali plotted an evasive jump, one that would slip them through the expanse's tangled space lanes and past patrolling scanners. Mara approved, her focus split between the controls and the orb's steady light. Suddenly, the comm crackled. "Captain, unidentified vessel on approach," came Navali's calm voice. On the tactical display, a massive silhouette appeared, the usurper's flagship, the Dread Sovereign. Its prow bristled with weapon arrays, and at its bow burned the same crown glyph they had seen at the vault. "They tracked us," Mara said, jaw firm. "Battle stations. Let's see if they're content to talk, or if we must make them listen." Freighter's lights dimmed as shields came online. Solana stepped back, fear flickering across her violet eyes. Mara placed a hand on the girl's shoulder. "Your power saved us once. Trust it again," she said. Solana nodded, closing her eyes. The orb's glow brightened, sending ripples of violet light through the deck plates. Outside, the Dread Sovereign loomed in the viewport. It opened communications. A cold, resonant voice filled the bridge. "Heir of the Seven Rings," it intoned. "Return the heart of the stars and your people may yet live. Resist and this vessel will reduce you to cosmic dust." Mara's fingers hovered over the comm button. She chose her words carefully. "The orb belongs to Solana. We will protect her right to her heritage." The flagship's reply was immediate. Weapons locked and charging. Green beams arced from its turrets toward the freighter. "Brace for impact," Mara shouted. The enemy fire ricocheted off the shields, sending shimmering waves across the hull. Solana's energy flared, reinforcing the shields for a heartbeat longer than expected. Dex grinned. "That girl is our secret weapon." Mara seized the moment. "Navali, full throttle to the expanse jump coordinates. Dex, load ion disruptors and prepare a broadside." The freighter surged forward as Navali pushed the engines to their limits. Behind them, the Dread Sovereign opened fire again, but the shots fell wide as the freighter weaved between asteroids and glowing nebular tendrils. In the aft gun ports, Dex charged ion disruptor cannons. Each shot crackled with violet-white energy. "Taking aim at their engine array," he reported. Mara opened the tactical overlay to mark the target. "On your mark." The flagship's silhouette filled the viewport. Dex's cannons roared and 2 disruptor bolts tore into the Sovereign's engines. A flash of sparks bloomed across the enemy hull and its trajectory wavered. The flagship's turrets pivoted, angling to bring side batteries to bear. "They're reorienting," Navali warned. "We won't outrun their broadside." Mara tapped her console. "Solana, can you channel power to our weapons?" The girl stepped forward, the orb lifting from her hands as it floated between them. She extended slender arms and streams of living light poured into the gun ports. The disruptor cannons glowed brighter, their blasts streaking toward the Dread Sovereign's shields. The enemy shields flickered, then collapsed under the combined assault. With the enemy temporarily disabled, Mara saw her chance. "All ahead reverse, prepare to ram," she ordered. The freighter bucked as main thrusters shifted. The vessel lunged backward, colliding with the Sovereign's flank. Metal groaned under the strain, and the flagship's hull cracked along the impact zone. Navali guided their ship free before the enemy could mount a counterattack. The Dread Sovereign drifted, crippled, but not destroyed. Its bridge cameras must have shown the damage. On the freighter's comm, the cold voice spoke again, strained now. "This is not over, Captain Mara Thorne. The usurper will rise again. Prepare yourself." The link cut. Mara exhaled, pressing a hand to her forehead. Solana's orb dimmed in response, its light settling back into a calm glow. Dex slapped Mara's shoulder. They'll think twice before chasing us again. Navali plotted their jump. Coordinates set, ready to slip through to safety. Mara moved to Solana's side. "You did more than I ever could," she said, quietly. The girl managed a small smile. "I only did what I must," she replied. Her violet eyes reflected both strength and vulnerability. Mara gently took the orb and placed it back in Solana's hands. "We're safe, for now. But we need allies to finish this." Navali activated the hyperspace controls. The freighter's engines flared as it dove into the expanse's tangled roots. Stars stretched into lines of light and curved around them. The dread sovereign's silhouette shrank behind them, eventually disappearing into the void. In the calm that followed, the crew gathered on the bridge. Solana set the orb on the command console. Its soft light illuminated each face. "Next," Mara said, "we find the Loyalists, those who remember the old empire. They can help us rebuild what was lost." Solana placed a hand on the orb, sending a gentle ripple across the deck. "And I will lead them," she said. Her voice was steady, full of quiet conviction. Mara smiled, pride shining in her eyes. "Then let's make history." Outside the viewport, the expanse's glittering clouds of gas and dust welcomed them on their journey to forge a new dawn for the Starborn, and for humanity among the stars. Captain Mara Thorne watched the stars swirl around the freighter as it slipped through the final jump point into the hidden system. The Vega expanse's chaotic nebula gave way to calmer star fields, and on her holo display, a small planet glowed, Imaris Prime, the refuge of the Loyalists. Solana stood beside her, the heart of the star's orb resting against her chest. Its light pulsed softly, matching the gentle hum of the engines. Below decks checked weapon systems while Navali confirmed their approach trajectory. "We're on schedule," Navali reported. "Imaris Prime will appear on sensors in 5 minutes." Mara nodded. "Good. Let's make a strong entrance. I want every Loyalist to know we have the true heir of the Starborn with us." The bridge. Lights dimmed as the freighter dropped out of hyperspace. Imaris Prime filled the viewport, a world of emerald forests, silver rivers, and clear oceans, dotted with ancient stone spires half hidden by vines. A fleet of 11 vessels, scouts, transports, and a single light cruiser, orbited the world, their hulls marked with a stylized 7-ring emblem. They turned to face the freighter in unison. Navali hailed the cruiser. "This is Captain Mara Thorne of the Star Freighter Pathfinder. We come bearing Solana, heir to the Starborn throne." A moment of static passed. Then the cruiser's communications officer replied, voice steady and formal. "We have awaited your arrival, Captain. Prepare to rendezvous at docking ring 3. "Understood," Mara said. She steadied herself, then looked at Solana. "Are you ready?" The girl inhaled deeply, grip tightening on the orb. "I am." At docking ring 3, the Pathfinder slid into the empty berth with practiced ease. The docking clamps engaged, with a soft hiss. The crew assembled in the cargo bay as airlocks cycled open. They formed 2 lines, making way for Solana and Mara. A delegation of Loyalists, men and women in simple uniforms of slate and silver, waited at the far end. At their center stood an elderly woman in ceremonial robes, eyes bright with recognition. Solana stepped forward, her violet eyes shining. She carried the orb in both hands. The chamber lights dimmed, and the orb's glow illuminated the Loyalists' faces. The elderly woman moved to meet her. "Princess Solana," she said, voice trembling with emotion. "You return at last." Solana lowered the orb so the woman could see it. "The heart of the stars has chosen me," Solana replied softly. "I accept my destiny." The Loyalists knelt as the elderly woman raised a crystalline staff crowned with the 7-ring glyph. She touched the orb against Solana's chest. A wave of light spread through the bay, and every person felt a warmth deep in their hearts. The staff glowed, then settled, its light now fixed in the staff's crown. The power of the orb had been shared among all present, forging a bond that transcended fear and doubt. Mara watched, a lump in her throat. This was more than a ceremonial act. It was the reawakening of a people. When the loyalists rose, they did not look like subjects. They looked like allies, proud and determined. Solana turned to Mara and gave a small, grateful smile. Outside the docking bay, the light cruiser's captain approached. "Captain Thorne," he said, voice respectful. "Thank you for delivering our heir. The Loyalists will take Solana to the Palace of Renewal on Ameris Prime. We ask your support in escorting the fleet back to Galactic Council space." Mara squared her shoulders. "I will stand by Solana and her people. You have my word." As the freighter's ramp closed, Mara gave Dex and Navali orders for refit and resupply. Then she made her way back to the bridge alone. She looked out at the planet below, thoughts racing. Humanity had stood beside Solana this far. Now it was time for these two worlds to unite. Solana's voice chimed in the comm. "Captain May." "I come up?" Mara cleared her throat. "Of course." The hatch opened and Solana entered, the orb tucked safely in a containment field on her belt. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For everything." Mara offered a reassuring smile. "This is only the beginning. Your people need you, but so do we. Humans and Starborn together can bring peace back to the galaxy." Solana placed a hand on the console, eyes on the stars. "I know, and I want to build that future." She turned to Mara. "Will you stay?" Mara hesitated, then nodded. "I'll stay as your protector, your friend, and your pilot. We'll find a way to bridge our worlds." Solana's violet eyes softened. "Then let us begin." The freighter's engines hummed as it rose from the docking ring. Crew members lined the hallways, watching as Pathfinder led the Loyalist fleet out of orbit. The light cruiser fell in behind, its crew inspired by the freighter's bold captain.